ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. Welcome to this segment of Khoj Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day, the recitation for the day. Gaudi Maj Mahalla Panjama, Sun Sun Sajan Man Mit Piare Jiu, Man Tan Tera Eh Jiu Piare Jiu, विसर नाही प्रभ प्राण आधारे जियो, सदा तेरी शरण आई जियो. जिस मिलिए मन जीवे पाई जियो, गुर प्रसादी सो हर हर पाई जियो. सब किछ प्रभ का प्रभ किया जाई जियो, प्रभ को सदबल जाई जियो. ਇਹ ਨਿਧਾਨ ਜਪੈ ਵਡ ਭਾਗੀ ਜੀਓ, ਨਾਮ ਨਿਰੰਜਨ ਏਕ ਲਿਵ ਲਾਗੀ ਜੀਓ. ਗੁਰ ਪੂਰਾ ਪਾਇਆ ਸਭ ਦੁੱਖ ਮਿਟਾਇਆ ਜੀਓ, ਆਠ ਪਹਿਰ ਗੁਣ ਗਾਇਆ ਜੀਓ. ਰਤਨ ਪਦਾਰਥ ਹਰ ਨਾਮ ਤੁਮਾਰਾ ਜੀਓ, ਤੂੰ ਸੱਚਾ ਸਾਹੋ ਭਗਤ ਵਣਜਾਰਾ ਜੀਓ. ਹਰ ਧਨ ਰਾਸ ਸੱਚ ਵਪਾਰਾ ਜੀਓ, ਜਨ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਦ ਬਲਿਹਾਰਾ ਜੀਓ. ਹਰ ਧਨ ਰਾਸ ਸੱਚ ਵਪਾਰਾ ਜੀਓ, ਜਨ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਦ ਬਲਿਹਾਰਾ ਜੀਓ. Interestingly, there is no rahau in this passage, which suggests to us that there's no one dominant idea, but perhaps a set of interrelated ideas. So what the Guru is doing here, he is making a plea on our behalf, as it were, where he says, Sun Sun Sajan, heed me, my beloved, Man Mit Piare Jiu, my dearest friend. Man tan tera, this body and mind belong to you. Eho jiyo bhi ter vare jiyo, and so does this life belong to you. Visar nahi prab pran adhare jiyo, sada teri saranai jiyo. So what he's saying is, my dear friend and comrade, Sajan man mit pyare, you are the support of my life, pran adhare. Please heed me, lend me your ear, listen to me. The body and the mind belong to you. This life is an offering to you. So please do not recede from my consciousness. You are my eternal shelter. So the Guru is reaching out to the self and making a plea to the self to not recede from memory. In other words, the Guru is asking for a quality of consciousness or awareness that is not what is being experienced at the moment, because we are experiencing ego consciousness. The Guru is asking for self-realization, which is universal consciousness, if you will, an expanded horizon of the consciousness, which is also an integration. So Guru Arjan is really seeking heightened awareness at various levels. He's talking about man tan tera, the physical body, the mind, and the essence. They're all interrelated. And he's saying visar nahi, which is to say, don't allow yourself to sink into ego consciousness. Remain aware of the self at all times. So what are some of the markers of this expanded consciousness that Gurbani is always asking us to achieve, another dimension of consciousness. Some of those markers we will come across subsequently within this passage in the following verses. But just to briefly touch on them, they are first clarity of vision. And this results from erasing doubts and overcoming obstacles. Sab dukh mitaya. And it also comes from the subsequent awakening of the mind. Man jive pai. And it is also indicated by a state of integrated flow, if you will, being in the flow of things. An enhanced concentration. Naam niranjan ik liv lagi. The mind is much more concentrated, it's integrated, it's in the flow. And let's see how the Guru explains them. In the second verse, he says, Jis miliye man jive pai jiyo, gur prasadi so har har pai jiyo, sab kich prab ka prab kiya jai jiyo, prab ko sad bal jai jiyo. Here's the insight, here's the vision that is clarified. So first, the transcreation. Offer yourself up to the self. The self is the all-pervading field of experience. Sabkish Prabhaka. And it is the animating spirit of the mind. Jis mile man jive pai jiyo. Everything happens within it. Prabhaka kiya jo jiyo. So this is really the insight that you are getting. That it is all one unified field of experience. And it is obtained through the insight of Guru wisdom. It is Guru Prasadi. So har har pai jiyo. That state of consciousness is achieved through the grace of the Guru or the insight of the Guru. And then he goes on to say, Eh nidan jape vadpagi jiyo. Those who realize this precious truth, they find the self. Naam niranjan ek liv lagi jiyo. Their mind and their awareness becomes centered in the flawless wisdom of the self. Gur pura paya sab dukh mitaya jiyo. We've talked about this. Gur pura paya. Flawless wisdom will enable you to remove doubts and overcome obstacles. Art Pehar Gun Gaya Jiyo. This is another example of being in the flow. Art Pehar, your lifestyle is one Gun Gaya Jiyo, of virtue. You're in the flow of life. So those who realize the self through the infallible Guru wisdom are able to remove all obstacles from their path. Sab dukh mitaya. Their minds are enriched. Vadpagi. Vadpag means parts, and it's believed that there are parts to the mind. When they're integrated, the whole is larger than the sum of the parts. And this term is used to indicate great fortune, richness of the mind, blessedness. So their minds are enriched. Their minds become unblemished. In other words, not obstructed by ignorance. And their minds become attuned to the law. They become in harmony with the environment. Hukam. And such a life is in a flow and it is esteemed. Artapher Gurangaya Jiyo. In conclusion, the Guru says, Ratan Padarth Har Naam Tumara Jiyo, Tu Sacha Shaho Pagat Vanjara Jiyo, Har Tan Ras Sach Vapara Jiyo, Jan Nanak Sadabalhara Jiyo. The Guru uses the analogy of trading very often. And so what he's saying here is, Naam Padarth, Ratan Padarth, Har Naam Tumara Jiyo. Self-knowledge is the precious adornment of life. In other words, that is the summit that we have to reach. That is the consciousness that we have to attain. And then he goes on to describe the self as the banker, tu sacha shah, as well as the commodity and the exchange. Hardan ras sach wa Piare Jiu. Everything happening together. The devotee is the trader, Bhagat Vanajara. So that's how this trading occurs. Says Nanak, offer yourself up in exchange for the precious self. In other words, offer up your conditioned existence for the consciousness of the self, which is boundless, which is fluid, which is imaginative, and which can visualize a better future. On that note, until the next time, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.